Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's get to the articles. So, this is the title thing. Diplomas for sale, $465. Again, I fucking hate how they do their headlines to line up with the ads instead of the article.
Because you can't really read it very easy.
Yeah, so diplomas for sale, $465, no classes required, inside one of Louisiana's unapproved schools. This is a long article. We're not going to do the whole thing. So this is about...
Jesus. It's $465. Is this for? This isn't where Kent Hovind got his.
No. His was Patriot Bible thing. I looked into that. They charged like $3,000.
Oh, okay.
And I considered getting myself a PhD from them.
Because what would you have to do to get it? Just spend the money. That's about it.
So this is kind of like a piece that follows one person as a story. This Arlia Martin person who accepted her high school diploma with relief and gratitude. It was her ticket to better paying work she felt after getting kicked out of high school and toiling for 8 years at factory jobs to support her children. So this is primarily a homeschool thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of it's not just a homeschool thing. They're also preying on the vulnerable. This is somebody who feels like she's at a dead end in life and is trapped.
They think this is their way to get out.
And this, yeah. So the way that they see this as the only way that they can get out of that life. But then it turns out that these diplomas aren't really worth anything. Oh, we did get a donation. We're at $56.73. So thank you, whoever did that. Sorry, I don't have it open to
that. So that would also be a reason why they're so low costed compared to anything else that's available, the thousands of dollars for other diploma mills, because they are specifically trying to get what is the high end of what we can get off of a low and desperate market.
Well, there's a bit more to it than that.
Okay,
but yeah. Anyway, so Martin didn't just she didn't take any classes or pass any tests to get her degree. She just forked over $465 and they gave it to her with the ceremony. That's it.
That's how you earned it. You just spent the money and then it was there.
Well, she has justification for this later on in the article, but
okay.
So Louisiana is a weird state. They actually do kind of regulate homeschooling, which surprised me because that's something you would expect to see in the blue states, not the red states.
Mm-hmm.
So just full disclosure, I homeschooled my kids for several years. There is a right and a wrong way to do it. Most people that homeschool their kids do it the wrong way, but there is a right way to do it. Now, the reason we stopped homeschooling our kids was because we could no longer do it the right way. So when it got to that point, it was like, no, we need to send them to school now.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if I could go back in time and do it differently, I would not homeschool if I could go back and make all the same decisions that I made then with what I know now. And I think that would have been better for everyone. But, it is what it is, and we made the best with what we could do.
You did the best.
We did the best with what we had, and they're in school getting a much better education than I could provide for them at this point. Anyway, right now, and they're all fucking smart as a whip. So I've no concerns about. Well, I mean, they've been in the actual school system for years now. So if there were any concerns, they would have crept up years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so it's So we're going to get into this, but a little bit in the article, so I'll probably skip this since I'm giving an overview now. But Louisiana's thing is that if you homeschool, you have two options for getting your kid a diploma, saying that they graduated high school or whatever. You can either have them, you can register them with the government and say, I'm homeschooling my kids, and then you have to send in their test scores to prove that they have actually done the work and have gotten the education, and then they will get a state certified degree saying that we saw the proof that this kid passed the test. Now that is kind of problematic because you just send in one set of test results, and it's kind of like the honor system that the parents didn't help the kid pass the test. But like, it's more than what we have in Canada, believe it or not.
Okay.
But the other option is you don't do any of that. You don't even tell the state that you're homeschooling. You just don't send your kids to school. And then, but they, like, that by itself is technically illegal.
Okay.
However,
wouldn't that fall under like truancy?
Well, it's illegal under the truancy laws or whatever. But in 1980, some laws were passed that deregulated private schools, which basically made it so, like, they took away the requirement that private schools have state certified teachers. They took away the requirement that they have to have a minimum number of students. So what homeschool parents are doing, if they don't want to go the proper government route, is to be like, oh, well, I'm a private school. I have 2 students. And then they then get the power to issue diplomas, but the diplomas are not like certified by the state. So like some colleges and universities will accept them, others won't. You'll have a harder time with that one than you will with.
And I'd imagine some of the colleges and universities that will accept them might also have their own problems with like transferring of accreditation and stuff.
Yeah. So to kind of like that's spoiler for the rest of the article, but what I want to get into here is like they have nearly 9,000 private schools in Louisiana which don't have state approval to grant degrees. Now, I looked it up. Do you know how many private schools there are in all of Canada?
How many?
1,700. Canada has a population of about 40 million people. Louisiana has a population of about 4 million people, but they have 8 times the private schools that we do.
Because wait, you have 1,700 private schools.
Yes.
And Louisiana has 8. Louisiana alone has
9,000. Because
how?
Because that's the parents trying to get out of having to actually test their children so that they can show that they learned something during homeschool, just sending in the paperwork to register and say, yeah, we're a private school now.
Okay. I mean, I guess it is a little better than it just being that many private schools that just, happen to be on their own land. Because that was the logistical nightmare my brain was trying to work around. It was like, how do you have the land for all of that? How do you manage that many in that many cities? Because I think there's like 2. I want to say there were 2 private schools in Pensacola when I was there, Pensacola Christian Academy, and one more. So my brain's like, multiply that by cities. There's not enough cities in Louisiana for that.
No, but that's the thing. Like to register as a private school, you just have to like fill out the paperwork, sending in like you basically just have to answer like what is your address and how many students are enrolled. And that's it.
You just go like
they don't even need to know who the students are. They just need the number.
So you could just literally be like, I am a private school and I am fostering my neighbor's kid.
You don't even have to do that. You just I am a private school. I am educating my kids. So yeah, that's literally it. That like it's not actual schools. It's people that are trying to circumvent the homeschooling requirements.
Jesus.
And I'm gonna take some flack if I don't do this, but I've had people in the chat that are referencing this. We have to say now, it's over 9,000. Except it's not. It's nearly 9,000. So
I mean,
you guys are wrong.
Also, the over 9,000 was wrong. It was a dubbing error. It's over 8,000.
That's funny. Adam Broughton says, my friend told me his kids are in a homeschool collective because he doesn't want to vaccinate them or have public schools indoctrinate them. Yeah, that's a lot of the reason why people homeschool is to get out of, usually it's not vaccination requirements, but it is like that is a rising level of one. Got Sakura saying in the original Japanese it was over 8,000.
Yeah, it's
there you go. So maybe it is right
weird.
Then.
It's weird that people get upset over the indoctrination thing when, if you really think about it, basically anything that you are giving a child when they don't have the ability to process information other than like regurgitating what's been given to them, it is a form of indoctrination.
Yeah.
The problem isn't whether it's an indoctrination. The problem is whether you are teaching them something that is good and true
Like, I mean, if you're against indoctrination, like, you're pulling them out of the public school system where they will encounter many different people from many different walks of life, and so have the experience where they're exposed to more things than they would at home, even in somewhere that's as well. Louisiana is fairly diverse, but let's go to Utah, say, where it's all like a bunch of white people. You're still going to meet people from different walks of life. There's going to be more diversity in a school than out of it. You're going to be exposed to more worldviews that way. Just
they're going to be indoctrinated in the homeschool environment.
Yeah, so like to pull them out of an environment where they're not taught that the way that this kid thinks is better than the way that kid thinks. They're just going to be exposed to these other kids. To pull them out of that experience and say, no, this is how everything is, and you will not deviate from this whatsoever. Like, that's literally the pot calling the kettle black here with the whole indoctrination thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Progress only saying diverse does not equal integrated. That's a good point.
Yeah, so my question is, as someone who did student teaching in Louisiana, how the hell do these unapproved schools are going to help with the state's literacy issue? They're not. So when I was working at Walmart years and years and years ago, there was a cart pusher there who was 44 and did not know how to read in Crestview, Florida.
That actually reminds me, I looked this up as well. There's more private schools in Louisiana than there are Walmarts in the United States. Oh, that got cut off. There's 4,717 Walmarts in the United States. So there's almost twice as many private schools in Louisiana than there are Walmarts in the States.
I just, having met people who were stonewalled into not being able to do much with their lives because they did not, like, their parents refused to get them an education when they were younger.
Yeah.
I can't fathom a parent willingly putting their child through this, going like, no, they don't need to read. They don't need to know that.
Yeah.
And it sounds ludicrous, but again, like, I've been on the same payroll as these people before.
So I actually came to this one from a Hemant Mehta article where he was talking about homeschooling. I chose not to cover that one because my next article is from Hemant Mehta as well. And I like to have multiple sources. You
don't want to have everything from Hemant Mehta.
Yeah. I don't want to just copy his work and be like, yeah, no, I'm just reading Hemant's blog. But you
don't want to be Dave Rubin?
Yeah.
Where every video of his begins, I found this on the Libs of TikTok account.
Yeah. So the article that Hemant was writing was following a different person that grew up in the homeschool. She was part of the quiverful movement, and the thing that he was getting at was that she actually like wrote her own high school transcript, and it was just completely made up. Like, she never received a grade for anything, but it was just like, that was one of her school assignments one day, was to write her high school transcript so her dad could sign off on it and she could use it to apply for college. And it had stuff like, in my sophomore year, I studied hunting.
Okay.
And it had her as a volunteer youth counselor. That was one of the courses that she had. That's terrifying because it's a quiverful movement. She had 15 siblings. So you know that when it's volunteer counselor, it was really the parents saying, hey, look after your younger siblings.
We're gonna go make more siblings real quick. Can you watch over them? Can you cook them their meals?
Yeah. So like, go look at Hemant's blog for that one. It's nuts. And like, she just completely made it up out of whole cloth. And like, she tells the story. If you go and read the original source for that one, she tells the story of how she actually maybe is. No, that's not the one. Okay. I was just making sure that wasn't actually the thing that I decided to cover, because it's different enough from this that maybe it was. But like, she did her grades. She's like, I want to have good grades, but I'm going to make it not all perfect because it's more realistic to not be all perfect. And then when she turned it into her father, he was like, why didn't you just give yourself a 4.0 GPA? It's like, because
the father was there for the cheating from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what he was there for. He wanted it to be as easy as possible. I was gonna go and say, I wasn't quite quiverful, because part of quiverful is not just like, does your religious education care about it, but do your family members care about that? And I never got that particular, shindig with mine. But just logistically speaking, I don't see how you can give an even amount of love, care, and attention.
You can't. It's not
to
possible.
15 kids.
I have 5 kids now. I went from 3 to 5 through a relationship, and that's one of the biggest struggles that I have right now, is making sure that I'm still paying enough attention to my own kids when the other 2 are here. Now, thankfully, like, it actually, like, I fucking hate their dad. Like, I've had one conversation with the guy, but like, from what I've seen of how he treats my partner and how he treats his kids even, I fucking hate the guy. He's a complete asshole. But if we had sole custody of her kids, that would be terrifying.
It would be a nightmare.
I mean, we'd manage, but like, we would never have a silent moment in our house ever again. And that's with 5 kids. I can't imagine 15. Like, just the chaos.
There's a reason why with a lot of quiverfullers, their childhood experiences are raising their siblings. Like, that is their childhood.
So have you seen all the seasons of Stranger Things?
Yes.
So the 4th season, when they go to Susie's house in Utah, and it's just a complete chaotic mess.
Oh yeah, because she was always on the talking with them online for like the longest time, and then they went there like, oh, this is
so that's
god awful.
That, like, I feel like that is an accurate portrayal of what a house with that many siblings would actually look like. Because, like, just from my experience with 5, like, yeah, no, absolutely. Like, the dad locking himself away to work and not paying any attention and hoping that the older kids are taking care of the younger kids, I can totally relate to that. Which is why I don't have 15 fucking children.
It's like with, what was I gonna... There was a thought in my head, and then it just disappeared violently. I don't know why it went.
Thoughts do that.
They do, and I hate it, because this is the reason that I stopped doing live debate, because I know this happens with my brain, and I'm like, I don't want to be the guy that's like, I had a good point to counter you.
I know we've had this conversation before, but like, go get your ADHD diagnosis, man. Like, you have it. That's a thing.
Well, as soon as I can afford to have a primary care position where I can do that.
Yeah, fair point. Anyway,
America's America.
Back to the article. So many people switched to private school or told their state they were homeschooling. This is during the pandemic. Thousands of others could not be accounted for at all, according to analysis from the Associated Press and its partners. John Oliver recently did a piece on homeschooling that is, quite frankly, terrifying. Anyway, so the Louisiana's off the grid school system kids aren't missing, but there's no way to tell what kind of education they're getting or whether they're getting one at all. There's over 21,000 students that are enrolled in the state's unapproved schools, which is nearly double the number from before the pandemic. So this is an increasing problem. And to supporters of the system, avoiding state oversight is entirely the point, because they're all the Fremen on the land type of people, and like, government's got no business telling me how to educate my kids.
Government can't tell me how I'm supposed to raise my kids. I remember the point I was going to say before.
What's that?
So it's very, very strange to me, transphobic quiverfullers, because one of the arguments that a lot of transphobic fundamentalists will use is that you should not give any gender affirming care to kids because they should have normal childhoods. They should be able to experience their childhood normally. And that is a wonderful criticism that would also mean that anybody else who has a medical problem at, the ripe old age of 9 or 10 should not go to the doctor. Ignoring that, these are the same people who will willingly basically have their children be surrogate parents for other children, while also going, these kids should have full and fulfilling childhoods. And it's like, bro, your daughter was literally mother 2 at 12. What?
Yeah. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I use Lily for babysitting purposes all the time. There so many times it's like, okay, I just need like 5 minutes of peace to like get dinner in the oven. Can you please go play with the little ones? And it's actually kind of heartwarming, because like the youngest one has really taken to her, and they're like best buds all the time. So Springfield Preparatory School bills itself as an umbrella school for Christian homeschoolers. So this is where like people can homeschool their kids and then send them to this place for like 1 or 2 classes and then pay them
These are the
money at the
legitimate
end.
classes that they have.
No, they're not legitimate. They're just classes. And the principal, Kitty Sibley Morrison, is also willing to grant a diploma to anyone whose parents say they were homeschooled even years earlier. So, like, you go to her, you pay her money, say, like, yeah, I was homeschooled, but I don't have records of that.
And I don't remember anything I learned.
Sure, here's your diploma. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times to explain to them that they are free, Sibley Morrison says. Their parents are in charge of them, not the state. When she says free, she doesn't mean monetary. She means, like, free from state
as
oversight.
in, like, freedoms. Jesus Christ.
Senshini says, Henry Kissinger was responsible for 9/11, the 9/11 of 1973. those are different things, Senshini. Come on.
That was their 9/11. Just like January 6th is somebody's 9/11 now.
Okay. I don't condone making fun of people's physical appearances, but like this lady looks like leather got too dry.
I mean, that's just what happens when you're old and you don't take care of your skin, I guess.
I mean, like, I'm probably going to be fucking ugly when I'm older. I don't know. But like that, like I don't know. I saw that and I like my brain immediately went into roast mode. I'm like, I can't say any of that on stream. That was so mean. And it's physical appearance, which like a lot of times you don't really have control over your physical appearance.
Not really. I'm balding.
I am not. I have lush hair.
Ah.
This is my Italian ancestry.
This is where the Keeps advertisement comes in.
I wish. Anyway, Sibley Morrison.
A hands-off option for homeschooling. Why do you...
That's literally just any homeschooling in most states and in pretty much all of Canada.
Just hand the kid a book. Learn yourself.
So she says she's not selling diplomas, but rather lifetime services for homeschooling families. We're not here to make money, she said. Yet a list of prices is taped to the front window of the school building. $250 for a diploma service, $50 application fee, $35 for a diploma cover, and $130 to walk in a cap and gown ceremony. So that's the 400 and whatever that we saw earlier. Like if you get all the bells and whistles, it's 465 or whatever. I don't know. I can't do the math right now.
I have to wonder how the cap and gown ceremonies work for them, because usually
we have cap and gown it's like it looks like they rented a room in a restaurant.
Jesus Christ, that's so sad. The whole point of a cap and gown ceremony is that you are celebrating that accomplishment with your peers. You're there with other people who went through the experience with you as well, for better or worse.
Yep.
And there are some people that skip their cap and gown ceremonies for one reason or another. But I mean, the point is you're there with other people. Doing it on your own, it's like the saddest kind of LARPing you can do.
They do it with other people. It's just other people that they don't necessarily know and definitely didn't go to school with.
Not those pictures looked real solitary.
I mean, there's like maybe
there's
like maybe 20 graduates.
I guess. Are those office chairs? No, those are the stacking chairs.
Yeah, those. Yeah, my church had those chairs. And
they're not super comfy.
I was the janitor at that church. So they say there's precious little information about these schools to which the state calls non-public schools not seeking state approval. To start one, an adult must only report the school's name and address, their contact information, and how many students they have. So that's it. And apparently there are some schools with names like the Ballerina Jedi Academy and the Unicorn
Princess School. Because they can just fill in whatever they want.
Yeah, but then you have to put that on the diploma. So imagine applying for college saying like, yeah, I went to the Ballerina Jedi Academy. Like,
I mean, at least with one of those, you can say it was a religion.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a silver lining.
Yeah. Now, most of the schools are tiny single-family homeschools. However, last year, 30 of Louisiana's unapproved schools reported they had at least 50 children enrolled. So those will be like the homeschool co-ops or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The department warns parents on its website that it cannot confirm whether these organizations even meet the legal definition of a school. We didn't want to give parents or anyone a false sense that we knew anything about these schools should they exist, Hawkins said. I don't know who Hawkins is. I don't remember. They probably mentioned them earlier in the article. I was just kind of skimming.
Yeah.
That we could attest to their safety. Yeah. No, they can't attest to their safety, their actual education program, or anything about the schools. So.
They have to basically go like, these schools exist, and because of how they exist, we have to wipe our hands of everything where they're concerned, basically, because otherwise we might be held accountable for little things like, accreditation, which could get awkward.
Yeah. And Lord of Uzkalak says, well, people do put Jedi on the census as their religion. Yeah, they do.
They do. But when you're looking at a census, you're looking at like billions of people or millions of people as numbers, as opposed to like somebody doing a background check on you for a job going, hey, what's this?
Yeah, so there are no requirements to prove a child is getting an education. In fact, these schools don't even have to submit the names of the students who are attending. Basically everything I talked about earlier.
It's fully hands-off in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah. I kind of spoiled the whole story by summarizing it at the beginning. So
that's fine.
So yeah, let's go on to the next story. But before we go on to the next story, I need more people to donate to Project Share. Because Project Share is fucking amazing. And they do a lot of good work in the Niagara region. They help a lot of people in need. Including some of the victims of homeschooling. It's like if you end up homeschooling and you can't qualify for like a good job, that's a good predictor of poverty, unfortunately. But
it feels so predatory. And like I know it is. That's not just a feeling in the back of my brain, but it is. It makes me mad because I went to a private school and I dealt with people who had those upbringings in the work environment around me. And on the one hand, you would get frustrated going, this person feels useless. And then on the other hand, you're like, that's not their fault, though.